It's a very warm welcome to Hope Channel Kenya. My name is Catherine and I'm always very happy to know that you're watching. Let me tell you, Hope Channel Kenya is a station that is here to help you find hope in God. And if you want to know that God is real, you need to hear what He has done to His people that have trusted Him in the most difficult circumstances. He has come through for them. And those are the type of people we bring to you so that just in case you're facing a challenge, you feel like giving up. Some of you may feel like, oh, maybe I need to commit suicide. There's no need of living. I can tell you, real people have gone through all those issues and they're here to tell the story. We are very blessed today to have a beautiful lady here. Her name is Risper Gogo. Risper is a member of Nairobi's Central Church, here in the campus of East Kenya Union Conference. She has served as a women ministries leader. She has worked out there. But the story we are talking about today is how she found God and what God has done for her through her life and what it has been like being a widow for the last 14 years. So you're very welcome, my sister. And I'm so happy you could create time to come along.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes,
Amen. Yeah, always smiling. And I remember this smile. I see it around in the compound sometimes. So you're welcome to Hope Channel.
Thank you so much.
Now tell me, where were you born?
I was born in Kakamega, in a small village, Shiongo, in the year 1951.
You don't look like you've turned a few years.
February 15th, just a few days earlier, I celebrated my 68th birthday.
Amen. Wow. I can't wait to get there.
Yeah.
God is good.
Amen.
Were you an Adventist then when you were born in Kakamega?
Interestingly, I was born in an Adventist family.
Amen.
But I grew up, went to school and worked. But I actually came to be baptized in 2006 after I had kind of like lived through my active life. I was attending church, I was doing many things, but my baptism came in 2006, mainly propelled by some of the experiences I had after the death of my husband. Yes.
But all along you came to church and you brought your children to
Yes.
church?
Yes. Yeah.
So, you went to school. You just told me that you were a general manager.
Yes.
In those days, how did you manage to navigate through the culture and the traditions that came with being a girl?
Okay. I came from... I had a very interesting childhood. In a family of 8, we were 4 girls and 4 boys. And my older brother, kind of like the brother I follow, was like my mom's favorite. And I felt, I kept on feeling discriminated and not liked the way a child felt liked. And I think that was probably my driving force to try and prove that I could be something different. So my academics were basically excellent. And despite the sibling rivalry I had with my brother, he was kind of like a mentor to me and tried to show me the big picture in the world. In fact, when I finished my high school and he wanted to be an engineer, I actually filled my form that I wanted to be an engineer.
Okay.
Of course, that didn't happen. So I grew up with this vision of wanting to achieve, to just prove a point that I think what my childhood experience was showing me was different from what I wanted to achieve, because it was like I was meant to feel I could not achieve much. I had very low self-esteem because of the family background in which I grew. Yes, my mother was very tough on me, and I think with that childhood understanding, I actually believed she hated me. So I did a lot of things to just prove that I wanted to be something different in life.
And in the end, you excelled.
And in the end, I managed to do very well. I was actually one of the 2 students who finished in first division in Form 4 in 1969.
Amen.
Went on to do Form 5, Form 6 in that time it was called Highlands, but today they call it Moi Girls Eldoret. And came to the University of Nairobi and graduated in 1975 with a Bachelor of Commerce degree.
That was a tough course too.
Yes, it was a tough course.
Because in those days, girls were expected to be nurses and teachers and secretaries.
Yes, again, based on what my brother was advising. He just said, you go and do that course. And he was a very foresighted person, and I used to listen to the advice he would give. So I ended up doing that course, and when we finished, I think those days it was very easy to get a government job. Actually, government job was like automatic, but I got 2 offers, one from 2 private firms, Kodak, and another one that time was a tourism company. I opted for Kodak, which was an American firm. Government had taken me, I think, to some department in statistics. I didn't take that job up. So I ended up in a job that actually had a lot of expatriates who actually mentored me to believe in myself.
Amen.
So I joined the Department of Finance and worked my way through finance. At some point I became a logistician in the organization. At some point I became a human resource manager and became the operations manager and finally became the general manager.
Wow.
Over a span of 30 years.
So you worked for one company all those years until you retired?
Yes.
Wow. That's
because they put a lot of, I think I couldn't find a lot of alternatives that were offering, probably also maybe very conservative. But you know, the company took you through a lot of training, overseas trips, conferences, and somehow you end up being bound like it's a family for you now.
Yes.
So I stuck there for 30 years.
Yeah, but it did good for you. So tell me, Risper, so where did you get this Mr. Right?
When I was at the university, this Mr. Right, we met in a social place, and I liked him. So we got married in 1973.
Was he from your community?
No, Nyansa.
Okay, now you were changing language?
So I changed the language.
What did you like about him?
He was very kind. He was very kind, carried himself in a very nice way, and I guess this engineering bug that I had and I didn't get it, he was also an engineer.
Okay.
So I ended up fulfilling my engineering dreams through him. Yeah.
How was it like in those days getting married outside your people? Because there are issues that come with intertribal marriages.
Yeah. It wasn't such a big issue. I think for some reason, Western and Nyansa, the intermarriage was not really a big story. And particularly where I come from, which is Kisa, we actually border.
Okay.
So if you go the river, the common river, actually one side is lowland, one side is Luya land. So it wasn't really a big issue, but still you could feel the sentiments of where you have gone, that you should have married our own. That you cannot miss. And I think a lot of the time you kept on getting this sense of incompleteness, that their son was not complete without their own.
Yes.
And actually in the end it must have worked on him, because as you will come to learn later, he ended up with the second wife from the community.
Oh, okay.
Much later on in life.
Because he needed to satisfy the expectations of their people.
Yes.
But otherwise, you enjoyed a happy marriage. And how many children did you have?
6. 3 girls, 3 boys. I will not say happy. I think I will probably be exaggerating, because when you have like what we have said and other challenges in life, and you know, you kept on still feeling you are a stranger. And I think where I came from was a totally different environment with where I went. And I think I had a problem reconciling. I came from a very strict Seventh-day Adventist environment. These ones were Seventh-day Adventists, but totally liberal. You know, there was drinking, there was all kinds of things. So I found that very strange for me to reconcile with. And obviously, when these issues reached a point whereby there was another family again, it became a bit touchy and difficult for the latter years of our marriage life. Yes.
So at what point did he get married to the second wife? Were you like
almost at the tail end of my children, because the second wife was a much younger person. Much younger than him, much younger than because his firstborn from the second wife was probably almost my second last born. So you can see.
That was almost, she could pass for your niece.
Or your daughter. Yes. Yes.
Okay. How did you feel?
Of course, like any other thing, the consequences were very rough and tough. And for me, I just let it be. Of course, you go through a very painful realization that these are the things that happen in life. You live in denial for quite a while, but it is there. And I think because I had a job and I had children, I just decided to focus on that and let it be. Because then they ended up living out of Nairobi, and I was in Nairobi. So kind of like 2 different homes. Yeah, and for me, I couldn't really bring myself to the level of, you know, what do you want to call it, fighting over. So I just think I moved on and said, let it be. He's my father of my children.
Did he sort of like give you reasons as to why he was making this funny decision to get into a second marriage?
No, it really, I think, looking at our times, that is also very normal. There's a lot of social pressure. There's a lot of friends who
have 2 wives.
My father-in-law was totally polygamous. I think in total he married like 4 wives. So it was really not a big thing given the environment in which he grew up. Yeah.
But he was initially in church. Did he come to church?
Not much. You know, just again, not serious church person.
So how did you raise your children in the fear of God with a spouse that was not really very committed to the things of God? How did you manage to do that?
Well, I think children, luckily many of them are, you know, they are with mother. So, and church going, especially when they are young, they will go with the mother. Church going becomes part of their Sabbath routine. Yeah. But obviously, they will not be as grounded as those that are brought up by both parents. Yeah. Because when they become big, they start looking at it like, is this a must? But when they are young, they'll come with mom to church.
So they came with you all those years. Yeah. Risper, one of the things that I find challenging in an experience like yours is how do you forgive this person? You know, you loved him, you've put all your heart into this relationship that has brought you lovely children, and then you just realize that he sort of betrayed you. And here you are. I mean, it's a reality of life. How did you move on? And you know, you just said let it be, and you moved on. What encouraged you?
I think mainly family, friends, because these are experiences when you share with other people, you realize they are also experiencing the same thing. And this is the African life. You come to realize these things are not happening to you alone. Obviously, it's not something you just wake up and say, let it go. You walk with it. It hurts you deeply. And you just manage the best way you can, obviously, very hurtfully.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, I came to learn, and I continue to learn that when you realize there isn't much you can do about something, how long can you hold on to it? Yeah.
Did he provide for the children?
Not much when this happened. I think in the earlier years, yes, but in these latter years, with all the things happening in life, no. But luckily, I had a good job, so I continued supporting and providing for them. Yes.
So you assumed the role of a man,
yes,
of the household,
yes,
and the role of the mother,
yes,
at the same time.
Yes.
How was this taken by your church friends?
Again, as I say, a lot of the time, even I am not even sure I was very close with the church friends. I was closer probably with other colleagues outside. Because remember, when you got these issues, a lot of the time you also tend to take a back seat in the church.
Yes.
And you just want, when the service is done, you are done.
You're the first one to
go. You come maybe when the lesson is almost ending. Then the main service takes place, and when it is done, you want to go, and you don't want to be involved. Because also, you know, the church environment kind of like, and I've come to realize this as you grow older, everybody else acts, and I'm saying acts, like all is well, and when it is not well with you, you probably don't fit. So a lot of the time, when you've realized that is the environment, you kind of like act. You are really not going to pour your heart to other members, because you know that's their world, you are in your world. Yes. So
you kept this to yourself and
a few friends, very few, but I cannot really say basically they were church friends. No.
So what is this that brought you to baptism?
Okay. Yes, I worked, retired in 2005, and it is that same year my husband died. I retired in February, and he died in November. When I retired, I think, as I mentioned earlier, I am one of those people that continuously looks for things that can occupy and keep me going. I actually went back to school to do my master's.
Okay, after retirement.
So in November of that year, retirement also comes with a lot of challenges. You know, like I mentioned, I was like the sole provider. My last born was actually doing her Form 4 that time, and you were kind of like, where am I going? I still have a child to send to school. And all these things are happening, and so I retired. Then he passes on. I decided to do something I knew just to keep me going. And then in November of that year, he passes on. and because of the complexity of this marriage now, and I think being in an African family, you know, when death comes, everything else that has been buried comes to the surface, okay, with all its challenges.
Was he sick?
Yes, he was sick. And now what had happened, because it's a long story, what had happened is, even this number 2 had had her, she got children like this, one after the other. So she had 5 children. And by the time he was sick, they had parted.
Oh.
Okay. So we find ourselves now with a husband who has died. I didn't pay too much attention of the family issues because of what had happened.
But also, let me take you back just a bit. When now he parted with the other lady, he is parted with you. Who was taking care of him?
He was still working. He was doing some work. He was still working. The sickness is not like it took long. He was still fending for himself and the children. Remember, these were now very small children.
Oh, and she left them.
She left them. Okay. And my big son was already working, so he was supporting.
Oh.
Okay. And so she leaves. My big son steps in, because whatever he was doing in those old age was probably not enough to sustain the family. So my big son was supplementing, and he dies. Now when he dies, and to me these are the things now that drove me to really, he dies. We don't have really a home.
Yes.
Yeah, in quotes, because he was living somewhere, their homestead where he was born and everything, they had a lot of complications as a family. So the land had not been given out. So he dies, and the meetings start, and it is like, where is the burial place? And in Luo Nyanza, burial and death brings to the surface all kinds of complications you cannot comprehend. So somewhere midstream in the discussions, a decision is made by my brother-in-law that they are going to bury him. You know, this is Kano floods.
Yes.
During the rainy season.
Yes.
So they decide they are going to bury him in in the homestead, outside the homestead, because now there is no home. But it means when the flooding takes place, the grave and possibly sometimes even the coffins
can be swept away.
Mountain. So we listen to this with my big son, and we say, no, whatever else he deserves, a decent burial. And you cannot just write off, this is a man, we had lived together, we had children. So my son says, no, we can't do that. So where he had been living in a shopping center, in a rental place, my son approaches the landlady and says, this is your tenant, has passed on. It looks we have a problem in burying him. Can we buy this piece of land and bury him there? And the lady agrees. So my son pays for the land, and in the process the clan now refuses to have anything to do with the burial. Okay, so they all decide now, it is either here or you do the burial yourselves. So we ended up organizing his burial from the shopping center, in a shop outside. So my family, where I come from, and my son and his friends and my friends, we just sit and discuss and sort out. So we actually ended up burying him minus any relatives or very close relatives. The brothers, except for the sisters, the brothers all boycotted. So we do the burial. Meanwhile, my co-wife, because now the father of these children has died, and he doesn't want to take these children, decides also not to come. So we finished the burial,
and you had
and we have
more
5 children.
Wow. I think that should be for the second part. Wow. Here is a real story. A mother of 6 gets another 5 at burial day. Sometimes it takes God to go through this experience like Risper. What would you do if your spouse had deserted you for another wife, or another man for that matter? Would you behave like Risper, still want to give him a decent burial? Would you actually take up 5 children? What do you teach your children about the other woman? Here is a mother of 6 whose son was helping children from another relationship. It takes God. And that is the secret we are discovering today. So don't go away. We're just taking a short break. I just want to have a cup of water and come back. Stay tuned to Hope Channel Kenya. So welcome back to Hope Channel Kenya. The program is Siri Ushindi, meaning the secrets of victory. You know, sometimes when you see people walking around like this, smiling, they could be going through so much, but by the grace of God, they can afford a smile. So don't judge people. We are very, very grateful for our sister Risper Gogo, a very strong lady in the Lord. She has served the Lord for many years, since 2006. And what I like about her is that she says that at some point, she was just there, coming to church and going home, but not really committed until she made a decision that it had to be just with God. So you're very welcome, Risper. The last part of the program, you told us that now you buried your husband at the shopping center. What did people say?
Well, it was, many people thereafter actually were shocked, but it was an afterthought, because it was like, how do you brothers? In fact, one of the brothers actually said he was too busy, because 2005 was this referendum on yes and no.
Yes.
And he was some officer, I don't know, returning or whatever. So he said he was busy.
He could not make it for the burial.
Make it for the burial. Of course, he used that as an excuse to cover, I think, in my opinion, to cover the reluctance. So we went through the burial, and my son, because already in supporting these kids, he had become very familiar with them. Of course, they were at different stages, from 4, high school, primary. So the 2 little girls, he had to come and stay with them.
Was he married then?
No, he was not. He was in his 20s. He was still very young. So he came with the 2 little girls. They were small. The boys were they were in boarding school. So when schools are closed, they'll come to this home. Now, because we actually now bought the place and the house, so now, and the burial, so this was now like the home. So when they close school, they come. Occasionally, they'll come to Nairobi. And that's how those children grew. And I obviously, there were certain areas I didn't agree with my son in terms of bringing them up, but we definitely had no choice but to bring them up. But I told him it would also not even be the best thing to have these children have nobody taking care of them. So where I could, I helped. I remember in particular, then I think this thing became too much for my son. I think whatever girlfriends he was getting, they look at him and look at the children, and they're like, Where are we going?
Yeah.
So in one of the occasions, he had a girlfriend who said, you need to be clear, is it children or me? And I think he liked her. So when she left, and I think he became also too busy, he was an IT person, working long hours because he had a whole clan of people to take care of.
Yes.
And I think it reached a point when his body and system could not take.
Yeah.
So he went into depression.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Now, at the time he was getting into depression, the first one boy was in university, going to 4th year. A girl was in standard in Form 4. Another girl was in standard 8. Now we had to look for this mother because it was weighing so badly on my son.
Yes.
So I said, now, and the employer said, now, either you take care of your son or you'll bury him.
Yes.
So I had to take the boy out of my son. I said, now, you can't continue living here. It's not making sense. You can't cope. So we had to look for a way of sorting out the boy in the university. The boy in the university had actually not been taking a help loan. So I told him, my friend, you have to take the loan now.
Yes.
So he went for the help loan. I ensured I paid the fees for the Form 4 girl. And we looked for the mother and we said, now you, the standard 8. Actually, that was the first time the mother was meeting these small girls after a very long time. They didn't even know her. They didn't know her. So they met and I told them, now when you close school, you go to mom. There's no way I can cope with all these things.
Yeah.
So anyway, finally, the boy finished, the girl finished her Form 4, went to university. The standard 8 went to Form 1. And they're now big people. The small girl now, I think, is doing a course. So that's a chapter we have finished, but they're fine. They are with their mother reunited. And that's where we are.
Did your son get well?
He is still struggling, even as we speak, but he's better.
And he's back to work?
No.
Oh, he's not back to work?
He's in the village. Yeah. So anyway, that's where. So these things were happening in 2005, in November. But the whole experience, which I can't go into the details, was so traumatizing. It was so painful. But somehow I saw the hand of the Lord.
Amen.
I saw the hand of the Lord on how he can actually pull you through. Because I think when this boycott took place, it was like, let's see what will happen. They'll be stuck. And they'll come crying and saying, please help us. And we got, God sent his angels. We managed to put everything together, did the burial, and continued with our lives. And I said, God, I have been just attending church. I think you are speaking to me that I need to be close to you, to be able to walk this journey. Because now I'm not only the mother and the father, I'm also now a stepmother and a stepfather to these children. And you must have purposed that it will happen like this, because nothing takes you by surprise. So in 2006, I decided to be baptized.
How did it feel?
Very renewing. And I think I found myself with this extraordinary strength that even the fears I had about now, how are you going to live after retirement, how is ABCD, I actually managed to move on until 2007. I graduated and finished my master's degree.
With all these children to take care of, with your son that is depressed.
He was depressed slightly later.
So when you look back now and look at the life you lived, especially after the death of your husband, and with all the issues it came with, what pulled you through? Because I can't imagine being left with the closest people when you really need them.
One of the things that I look at is, first of all, I think when I went back to school, I felt very rejuvenated. It opened my mind to a lot of things. So first of all, I didn't have time for feeling sorry for myself. Okay.
You were busy.
I was busy. And I was busy with things that excited me. Okay. And the other thing, in prayer, because I became very close now with some very good friends of mine in the church.
Amen.
And we were praying. We were praying and doing all sorts of things, and I could see the hand of the Lord. One of the things that, again, I need to mention is at the time when these things were happening, when my husband was dying, I had a son in the US, 2 daughters in the UK. One, and staying there, we kept on hoping they'll get their papers to naturalize their stay.
Yes.
It didn't happen. There were a lot of roadblocks.
Yes.
And I even got friends. We prayed and fasted, nothing doing. So the big girl was actually, when she was told to go for her interview in the Home Office in UK.
Yes.
Because they had learned, mercifully, I had told them, you cannot go through the crooked ways to get your papers.
Yes.
And that's something I feel very proud of, that let's do the things the right way. If God wants you to get them, you will get. So my big daughter goes for this interview. She thinks now they are going to look at her papers, because she had been there for 13 years. And she goes. And the next thing, the meeting was supposed to have been in the afternoon. They shift the meeting to the morning. She had told her lawyer to come and help her in the meeting in the afternoon. Now, where the meeting was and where she lived was like 3 hours. Now, they tell her, you have to be, the magistrate wants to hear your case now. So the lawyer was very far. So they come and tell her she is being shipped back to Kenya. So, and they cut a ticket for her. We were just lucky because the younger sister was there with her thing. So she left everything and came. I had to go and meet her at the airport with just the folder she had carried for that meeting. And that's after they had, in fact, actually they locked her in. First of all, they locked her in, then sent her to this magistrate, and then shipped her. So that was a very low moment. I said, God, after fasting, and after everything, this is what you can do to me, and I'm a single mother. These are the children I was hoping. So very low, but my friends kept on encouraging me, and they say, just leave. So she came. She was also now almost getting depressed.
Yeah.
So she comes back after 13 years. She has left everything behind and blah, blah. So she comes. And I get a friend to give her just something to keep her mind calm. I think volunteering almost. And then after a while, they give her some salary, and she starts speaking her life slowly. But to summarize this long story is, she gets a good job at the embassy.
Amen.
So we are like, okay. God, this is what you wanted to happen to her?
Which embassy was that?
Swiss embassy.
You see?
So those are the things that I look at and I say, God speaks at his appointed time. Because when she gets this job and she rises through and she rises through and she rises through. And so until this year, February, she's actually on a new job outside the country.
Amen.
You get me? So we will sit back and talk, and we say, when you're being chased away like a dog, God was actually telling you you don't belong here, there are better things
for you.
Just allow your, because our prayers, our fasting were for better things, but we couldn't see.
Yes.
So I have seen that over and over. I've just used this as an example.
Yes.
I've seen those things happening in little ways, in big ways, and realized that when you focus yourself on God,
Amen.
He comes through. You just have to allow Him the time to do that.
And I think the worst part is the waiting time.
Yes.
Because here you are, like in your case, with all these issues that needs to be sorted, and you really need finances.
Yes.
And then nothing is happening. And I think that's where most people can't wait. They take their lives,
Yes.
they take certain shortcuts, and they're very costly. Someone watching you today would be like, I couldn't do what she did. First of all, how can I take somebody's children? A lady who had actually snatched my husband, so as we say it. A lady who doesn't even come for a burial. A lady who doesn't care where the children go after the burial.
Yes.
Because already she didn't have a good relationship with you. Risper, I know it's God that did that.
Yes.
Do you think it is... Did you forgive her, by the way?
Do you know, as we speak today, if I met her in the streets, I don't even know how she looks like.
You have not met her again?
I think I met her a long time.
Yeah.
When my mother-in-law passed on, and I was just shown very far because that time she was still young. Was it mother-in-law, father-in-law? She was still very young, and when she was told I am coming, she ran away. I think she just imagined I would probably be violent or something. So I cannot meet her now and say, this is who she is.
Yeah.
I know her children.
Yes.
I don't know her.
And for your clan, your husband's clan, you still went back for other burials after that?
Yes. Well, after my husband, there hasn't really been any close, but I still go. I mean, if there is anybody who is... I have had like cousins. I have gone for a wife to my cousin. Yeah. And my mother, stepmother-in-law is still alive. We talk. I visit if I am down there, if I have some money. Occasionally, I have been lucky also, some money comes my way.
Amen.
So if I have money, I give her. She's an old lady. I support. My stepmother-in-law is still alive.
How do you do that after that kind of experience? What makes you do that?
I believe God has given me this spirit of not holding a grudge. I am very expressive, so if I've expressed my anger, I think everything comes out. Even my brother-in-law, I think probably he is the one with the bigger burden than me, because 3 years ago, when my daughter was wedding, I invited him. I invited him for the wedding. Of course, he didn't come. He said he was busy, but the wife came. Yeah, I have no...
You have no grudge.
Because what I believe is God has been so merciful. He's given me extraordinary strength.
Amen.
And blessings. In the midst of all these challenges, that I prefer to look at the blessings, that I really shouldn't spend my time feeling bad about the past. Because the past, if anything, it opened my eyes to see, and it gave me strength. Yeah.
So you have purpose to focus on the positive,
Yes.
on the good in people, in circumstances.
Yes.
And you have seen the blessing of God.
Yes.
You did tell me that you're now doing a course in counseling psychology after doing your master's, and you're 68. What is this that inspires you to remain a student, a perpetual student?
I think it gives me a challenge. And as I mentioned, you remember, I think that thing comes from my upbringing. I felt people didn't think I have this drive to fulfill. I don't know that if this thing is tough, can I try it and sit back and say I have done it? Even as I sit here, there are many things I'm involved in. And because I have always realized, like when I did my master's degree and I've served on several boards, I have realized that knowledge is what gives me an edge. Okay? I sit, which is ending, I sit on the county board in Kakamega, and we were it was competitive interview. And I think that master's degree in strategic management, and I have a very strong HR background. When I go and sit for an interview, I think I get people to notice. And I think that only comes when you know. Because, you know, I especially remember this one of the county, the interview was tough. And I was like, oh my God, I've been always sitting at the other side interviewing people. Now I'm on this side. And I could see from the body language of the interviewing panel, it's like, at your age and the stuff you are answering, you know what you're talking about. And I was taken on. Now I'm doing my third year at the county on a board of very qualified people. Yeah.
But you two are qualified.
Yeah, but I'm old.
Well, they say age is just a number.
Yes.
Listening to you, Risper, I'm quite motivated by the fact that you have made a very, very interesting choice to look at the positive, which is very difficult for most people to do. People would be mourning over their past, they'd be whinging and complaining, and someone watching you today would be in that situation, and honestly speaking, taking in children at the age you did, with the kind of experience you had with your late husband, was not an easy thing. And you have said that it took prayer, it took courage, it took, there was something. But I really want to pursue just one last question about your son, because I find him very unique at his age. Did you sort of like inculcate some of these values when he was young? How did he want to bear that heavy burden when he was not even married?
I think both my husband and I think our family in general, we have this thing about caring. And sometimes it may not be just talking, it may just be seeing how the environment around you operates, because my late mother-in-law had a very difficult condition that many people would not wish to have had. I lived with her for so many years in my house. So I get this feeling that the children grew up in an environment where they saw caring and being mindful of other people, and it's in them even as we speak, even in their adult life. They are a caring people. And that was also even my late dad, my late mom, and even my late husband. I think we have a family that cares on what happens. So I want to imagine that it's an environment they have grown into, knowing that we need to care. I think sometimes even to a fault, at the detriment of our own being.
That's true.
Yes.
Tell me, do you have a favorite verse that really inspires you now that you came back to church full time? Is there something that you think you wake up in the morning and say, wow, this is what keeps me going?
Romans 8:28. I have always believed that even in a state of adversity, all things
work for the good of those who love the Lord,
yes,
who've been called,
yes,
according to his purposes.
Yes.
So,
because I have seen that over and over again, even when I really feel I'm down there.
Romans 8:28.
Yes.
Wow. Why don't you turn to your Bible and read Romans 8:28? All things work for the good of those who love the Lord,
Yes.
who have been called according to his purposes. Not some things, not many things or a few things, but all things. Which means whatever situation you're going through today, even that situation, bad as it may be, it's working for your good. And I want to thank God for Risper, this wonderful experience, painful as it has been. You have never experienced something like this. Can you imagine your child taking care of other children to a point of losing their job and getting depressed and completely losing their future? That doesn't happen. But she's not complaining. She's thanking God for all those things. What about you? Is there something that you're struggling with today and you are cursing God? Is there something you feel God is really being unfair to you? I want to encourage you to take this verse for the day. All things work for the good of those that love the Lord. Indeed, if you choose God as your personal Savior, things may not always be good, but they will all work for your good. Thank you for watching Hope Channel Kenya and Siri Ushindi program. I believe you'd like to get Risper and really ask her more questions that I didn't ask her. She's available through Hope Channel Kenya. If you have any questions, please check the number on the screen and do send us your text message. Express yourself and say, oh, Risper, I just want to meet you and look at you really and just try to understand what makes you who you are. So feel free to do that. So until next week, God bless you so much. And my sister, you need to come back here and share more, especially on how we can focus on the positive rather than the negative. So thank you for coming, and God bless you.
Thank you too for the privilege.
You're welcome.
Even as we finish, we do a lot of motivational speaking
Amen.
to other widows and singles in churches as a unit from churches where we are together with the other ladies, just to help them see that it is not all hopeless because you are alone.
Amen.
Yeah.
So ladies struggling with issues of widowhood can see you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Amen.